I am a product of change. I brought the product and things, turning my L's into gains. Channel the pain, looking to better the days. Yeah, you are a product of fear and the man in the mirror. You can't get away from them things, and I am aware, fully prepared. The devil he speaks. Yeah, and this what he said. You gotta get paid. Do what you gotta do. Get to the bag. Stay at your 9 to 5. Get on the avenue. You ain't cut out for them tags. Yeah, you are not good enough. You are the type of guy people that shouldn't love. Anyone knowing you know that you phony. You never cut out for this. You should just give it up. Yeah, but that's how they want.
I just want to know this, and you can move on. But are you saying that your bankroll has a chastity belt? That's what you're saying.
I don't follow the analogy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. You just don't want to say anything.
You better believe they're looking for me. One time, I'm going for mine. You put it on mine. They're looking for me. Yeah. One time.
Singer, but I've been singing this song for the past 3 weeks, so I'm gonna share it with you. And it goes like, Mika's going to London, Sean's stuck in the studio, Brett slept with his best friend's mom. What you gonna do? And it
Just keep pushing the limit. I am like all the way with it, all the way living. Y'all are just bearing the witness. You can keep staring out windows and watch how I do it. They trying, they taking their pictures. Yeah, homie, that's all the
Jay, leaderboards are these things where they track the points when you do really well in tournaments and we win trophies and stuff, and they rank you at the top. Just
All right,
want to make sure you're gonna look on that.
now I'm in the know. Thanks.
Yeah. It's okay. I didn't know either.
Yeah, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
game is a new attitude. Maybe I'm not, but I'm better than you. Yeah, but all of them voices we got them. Lie to me, Hillary Rodham. I just came back from my kid in the bottom, and now I'm gonna bring it back all the way on them. Yeah.
You told her you're a poker player?
Yeah, she knows. I mean, she watches the real.
wait,
she has my TikTok now and everything. Well, she doesn't know I'm a losing poker player. That's the key. She doesn't know I'm bordering break even.
Right.
This is important. How old are you?
Older than you.
Older.
Are you older than me?
This feels like a prop bet.
Right.
Ooh.
It's close.
I think it's probably
Close.
Come on, it's just a number. How old are you?
I'm 53.
Okay.
I'm 53.
I take the over on that.
You can take the over, but first of all, Grandpa, I look younger than you.
That's true.
I'm in better shape with one arm.
Also true.
That's fair. That's fair.
You better believe. You better believe. You better believe they're looking for me. Yeah.
I could see Brett right now in the cash room. He gets 4-betted by a female at the table, and then she turns over a bluff like deuce 3 off, and then he goes, "Hey, here's my number.
Yeah.
You can call me. I'm available."
You put it on mine. You better believe they're looking for me. One time, I'm going for mine. You put it on mine. You better believe they're looking for me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the premiere edition of the Chase the Dream podcast. My name is Rob Gardner. I am your host for these wonderful festivities, and I'm joined by 6 of the most amazing human beings on the planet. If you are new here, if you are new to the Chase the Dream project, this is something that started 3 years ago when me and 2 of my friends put a little docuseries together, 7 episodes long, where we kind of followed our journey to the WSOP, some of the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs. It was an incredible time. I have to give a huge shout out to my friends Paul Figlamini and KL Cleaton, who were a part of that project. We would not have been able to make that project what it was without them. And you guys can always check that out on the channel. Hit the subscribe button if you hadn't. Check it out. It's a good watch. But we have been talking for a couple years about possibly doing a season 2, and we're really seriously considering, we're in talks about getting one organized for the summer, but we wanted to do something ahead of that. It had been a couple years since we'd done anything, and so we came up with this idea to put a podcast together that would follow some everyday poker players chasing poker dreams, going after big things in poker, and kind of similar to the docuseries, talking about the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, doing some life together, and kind of, working as a team to see, what we can accomplish and how far we can go in this wonderful, wonderful game. And so this has been 6 months in the making. We are officially here, and I could not be more freaking excited. So thank you so much for being a part of this. We appreciate you being here. I gotta start with you, Jay. I gotta ask, you've got this kind of weird sign in the background. You got a couple signs, but there's one over your shoulder that I noticed in the intro. And what does that say back there?
Where? What sign? Oh, this. Yeah, I didn't know if anybody's out there. One of my goals this year was to support Brett in his journey. And he started the new OnlyFans page right there at Sexy Brett. So if anybody wants to hit him up, it's pretty cheap too, right? I don't think you're charging that much for subscription, right?
It's just pictures of my feet. Yeah, it's just pictures of my feet. No big deal.
Jay, do you think you could get him to kick in some of that OnlyFans money to buy you some better internet? Like,
yeah.
You're like 5 frames per second.
I'll
buddy.
do my best. Yeah, I'll do my best.
So Jay, I kind of want to talk to you first, and just so everybody knows, normally our episodes, we're going to come in, we're going to talk about the big key stories from the past week, the things that are going on in our lives and whatnot. But this is a special episode because you might not know everybody here. You might not know anybody here. I'm the ugliest face. I'm the most recognizable. And we want you to hear some of the backstory and kind of where people are going, get to know these people a little better. So for this particular episode, we're going to be talking a lot about dreams and goals and where everybody's trying to go here in 2025. And so Jay, I want to start with you. What does your poker dream look like in 2025? And what kind of you trying to accomplish by the end of this year?
Yeah, I think for me, it's more about a large end game, like my ultimate goal is just like be a successful entrepreneur who's like, I'm able to transition my business sense into the poker community, if that makes any sense. And for 2025, it's literally going to be about just like laying it all on the table and trying to unlock all of my poker achievements. Like I have to win a bracelet. That is going to be one of my ultimate goals. I want to continue my trophy hunt. We won't go down that rabbit hole about people and their trophies, but and I want to get back to being a 5-10 cash regular. As you guys know, that's kind of my ground roots. I grind pretty hard in the cash streets, but it's going to take quite a bit, right? I think like by the end of 2025, like I want to have 2 rings, 1 bracelet, 3 titles. More on the elite side of the titles, like some big WPT titles. But I think it really starts with me managing my career like my business. And that's one thing I think that like I really haven't done, so that's kind of where I'm at overall. So some big things on deck for me for 2025. So I don't know. That's for me. I don't know. Like, what are your poker dreams, Mika?
Among all of the incredible poker women, I would be honored to be the first one to win the main event. And in order for me to do that, I am looking to hone my mind, my body, my spirit to be that of an elite athlete. And I'll talk about that a little more later, some of the things that I'm doing. Brett, how about you? I know you're in the dating scene and you're in the OnlyFans scene, but what else?
So technically that's not a dream. I'm going to focus on my dream and stop dating. I think that's the key thing to talk about here. Now, ever since I finished second in a bracelet event back in I think it was 2005 or something like that to Vitaly Lunkin, I've always had this dream of winning a bracelet. Really, I just want to put myself ultimately in a financial position to own a business. I went to college to be an entrepreneur. It's always something that has been a goal and a dream of mine. But I want to be in a financial position to do that, play poker, and really the end game is to have as much time with my son, just to maximize the half of the time of the year I have him, just to maximize that time and spend as much time as I can with my son, because that's what's most important in my life. What about you, Day?
Well, as you guys know, we sold the business. We're selling the house, and I'm hoping to go to Europe. I'm hoping to travel throughout Europe, playing a bunch of poker series. And the goal for me financially is to make enough money playing. I'm adding cash to my repertoire, and to make enough money so that I can cover my travel, I can cover my expenses, my hotels, and the buy-ins, and get hopefully that big score. I'm thinking 50K plus. I get that big score, and then I can rationalize throwing 10K down for the main event. And that's been my end game, playing in the main event. That's been my goal for the last 20 plus years. So that's me for 2025. What about you, Sean?
I like to keep things vague, subtle. So really, when it comes down to, I guess, what you'd call a dream, is just create enough stability with what I'm doing poker-wise that allows me to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. That's pretty much the goal. And the path, I guess, my theme of things, so to speak, would be that I've kind of played follow the leader for way too long now, and I'm just going to start doing things my own way. That's going to be my mantra going forward. But I'm not that big of a goal setter. So, what about you, Craig? What do you dream about?
Oh, dreams. I've spent the last 15 years trying to become a good poker player, and I'm not satisfied with being a good poker player. I'm ready to prove to myself that I can be maybe a great poker player, ready to prove to myself that I could make a go of it, that I could make a living at this game. But the problem is, I love what I do. I love my day job. And so it's finding a way to really live into the best poker player I can be, and seeing if that's enough to want to go full time. But none of us would be here if it weren't for our fearless leader, Rob. So Rob Gardner, everyone wants to know, what's your 2025 look like?
Yeah. I was thinking about this while we were doing the intro, because we spent all this time talking about what everybody else is going to talk about, and then I didn't even think about mine. This has been kind of a for lack of a better term, spiritual awakening for me over the last, I'd say, 6 to 9 months, because I've been on this very, very long, probably 20-year journey of being comfortable in my own skin and being comfortable with who I am and what my path looks like, versus trying to align that path to other people's expectations and goals and dreams. And I've had to work very, very hard on my self-confidence and my just positivity and, believing in myself. And it's coming to fruition this year. So this is my final exam, if you will, this upcoming year, to kind of really embrace who I am and really allow myself to achieve and reach my full potential. So it's a character building year, and one that I'm very, very excited about. Jay, I'm going to bring you back in, and I've known you, buddy, since you tried to take my money in a live stream game. What? Gosh, 6 years ago now?
That worked out well, didn't it?
And I've had the privilege of having nice long conversations throughout the years with you. You've always been a guy that I can talk to and just be really blunt with, and we've shared some of our battle stories and wounds. And when I look at you, Jay, I see somebody who has all the pieces together. Like, he's put in the work, he's put in the time, he's got the talent, he's got the ability, he's got the heart, he's got the drive. And now it feels like if you could just, kind of put it all together, like, there's no ceiling for you. And this kind of feels like one of those years where, like, everything's kind of gotten its place, all the pieces are in order, and maybe a big upswing, maybe a big, breakout is coming. So talk to me about like that this year, kind of how you're hoping to break out and what you need to do now to kind of take that next step.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. it feels like over the years I've been in and out. I haven't really put myself probably in contention to probably be at the highest level that I know or I feel that I can be at. And maybe some of it's lazy, but I feel within like the last 10 months, and I've had a lot of challenges, right? Personal challenges off the felt, but I've just felt so dialed in. I've been extremely focused, for the last, good, at least 10 months. I mean, overall for the year last year, it wasn't too bad, but I think now, like mentally, I'm starting to get to a place of like, hey, I know what I can do. And it's going to require some discipline along the way, right, for me to actually drive this. But I think where I need to put my focus into this year is saying like, look at my past, look at what my career has been. Again, I've been on the cash streets, transition to MTTs. Now, how do I collectively put all of this together and get my place into, I've said this before, like I want to be able to demonstrate that I can at least compete at the highest levels. So now that I kind of like have certain things in place, I got, business going on, more than one. And again, like things fail, right? It's kind of like going into an MTT and you plan to win and it all goes bad. But I think like this is kind of my time, my moment. I can feel it. I can feel the momentum. And now it's just a matter of like putting it all together and just like literally staying disciplined, to reach the ultimate goal.
So Jay, you mentioned discipline now twice. What does that look like for you? What's the part, where in your life do you need to exert that discipline?
Probably in multiple spaces. I think for me, like the lack of, there's times where I just don't feel like I'm consistent, and I think where I need to really hone in is one, like I'll put together a schedule and then I won't adhere to it. There's times where like I'll bail on events or I'll bail on sessions.
But Jay, forget the poker stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about some other type of discipline that you want to deal with, and I'm wondering if those two things might go together. You want to talk about that a little bit?
The mental side,
the physical side,
the health side. There's quite a bit of things there that I've kind of bailed on. I don't know, like we briefly talked about this at the end of 2023. I started like having some health issues, and I go to the doctor and I'm kind of like working on a lot of my personal stuff as far as like staying healthy or trying to, like I had to get on cholesterol pills, but you guys know me, around me long enough. I don't do well with timing. I guess that's really a thing, but like I had it in play and then I just didn't follow through, right? Like I got to a place where like I stopped taking my pills. I was on the path of like quitting smoking. That didn't happen, right? I was back on that horse. And I think a lot of it too was just my personal things that were going on in my life were like setting me back, right? I had a lot of losses throughout the year. And I think like those things were like incrementally sliding in where I typically have a pretty strong mind, right? But I think I let a lot of those things creep in and kind of set me back. And I think that's what was kind of preventing me from like putting some of these things in play. You know what I mean?
For sure. Do you think that if you get that discipline on that physical and health side, that it's going to affect your poker game?
Yeah, I honestly believe that like I'm going to be in a place where if I really just focus on like getting healthy, that's step one. Like quit smoking. That's my 30-day goal. So I can do that within my 30 days. Like that's something that I know I can do. I'm already been on track. I'm probably down to less than like a half a pack right now. And I've done that within, 2 weeks. So like, I know I can get there, but like the eating healthy meal preps, like things of that nature, there's going to be something that I know that I can nail, right? As long as I stay routine. And I have you guys that hold me accountable. Like Craig, I know you're damn sure going to hold me accountable. And maybe I'll be drinking blueberries out of a cup with a straw soon. But like these things, and then if you look at like the overall from the that like sliding that into poker, like my mental state, just puts me in a really good place, right? I'm going to stay prime mind up, those prime mind weekly challenges. I'm going to make sure I'm nailing those once a week. That's one of my big goals for the year. And then I have, like, at a minimum, I will play 150 live MTTs this year.
Yeah, that seems like a lot, Jay. That seems like a lot for someone has a couple businesses.
It is. But I think this goes back to what Rob was stating. I've done a lot along the way, but I've also learned where my fail points are, and I don't know where my fail safe is as well. Like, I've put a lot of things, like all my eggs in one basket, and I've learned from that along the way. So now I'm just kind of like piecing that out. My wife and I were having a really big discussion on, like, hey, it's like kind of time to turn it up. You know what I mean? From from our business perspective, and it is a lot. I think, like, at this point, like, the kids are getting a little bit older. And now it's, we're in a space where I think you put a little more focus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to do my best. I got you guys, Craig will let me know. Craig will tell me, like, hey, you probably need to put the coffee cup down or something.
Jay,
Yeah, but you won't listen.
I don't listen. I'll listen. That's part of my goals this year. Listen.
Yeah, I know one of the pivotal points in your 2024 was when you were at a final table with 6-time Triton winner Albert, I think was his name, and he just really put it on you on the live stream. Like, any plans to fix that in 2025?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely will be working on my my 3-handed game when I'm going to start node locking for that specific situation right there. Probably.
Node lock for playing the octogenarians.
I'm going to node lock for Albert. That's what I'm going to do.
So I want to get back to the eating healthy, no smoking thing. Have you considered hypnosis? My grandmother and my aunt smoked for like 40 years, and they did hypnosis next day. Done. They never touched another cigarette again.
Yeah, I haven't, like, truly thought about, like, they wanted to, like, give me the patch, and I didn't want to do the patch. Like, it still just pumps nicotine in your body. But apparently it helps. But I have thought about, like, the hypnosis piece, and I'll tell you, I think my biggest fear is that I have a dream if I go into hypnosis, because I know, like, I think you and I were talking about this at one point, that Craig's gonna slide in the room and he's gonna, like, get them to tell me to do some real crazy shit.
Absolutely,
that's my biggest fear. So
absolutely,
that's 1,000% gonna happen.
That's gonna happen. So I'm very fearful of hypnosis.
No lie, Jay. I can hypnotize you.
You do every day.
I was just going to say Craig's going to offer to hypnotize. I guarantee it. I was just going to say that.
We'll do it on the pod.
Yeah, you hypnotize me all the time with your play at the table. So you're good in that space.
I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing. Mika, I want to take it to you. You've had a incredibly wild year. You have had 2 amazing poker accomplishments in terms of the global package you won over the summer and the Women's London Festival that you won. And you got to a really critical point kind of in your poker career where you had to make a very difficult decision, a decision that I don't think every poker player has the heart and courage to make, where you decided to step back into the workforce, but not as a retreat necessarily or as a failure or anything like that. It was kind of an addition by subtraction thing where you saw an opportunity and an avenue to use a day job to actually propel you forward faster in your career. So talk a little bit more about that, like what went into that decision and what the kind of outlook for that and how that's going to play out in 2025 for you.
Yeah, so I was a professional poker player for the past 2.5 years. And kind of like Jay, I really lacked the consistency. I lacked a lot of core things that I thought I would have picked up from a corporate career, but I actually found it through poker. So Jay, totally not alone. You'll get there, and accountability definitely helps. But poker can be a little lonely sometimes. And sometimes finding your purpose or finding your why within it is difficult. So I took a step back. I considered, how was my poker career going? How was I feeling about, would I feel like a failure if I, stopped playing poker and went back to the corporate corporate career. And at first I really did. But then I talked to some people and they helped me remember I set a goal for 2 years as a professional poker player. Bam. Got that done. Goal completed. Number 2, I ended my poker career on an upswing. I had a profitable year. I was a successful, profitable poker player and won some pretty fucking cool packages. So like, really cool. But like I just mentioned, I had a really cool group of people I was working with, but I still miss that like camaraderie, working with other people, and also the stability from a bankroll perspective is really hard to get when you're just doing poker all day, every day. And then on top of that, trying to balance in your relationships with your partner, with your friends, with your family, it's almost, I'm not going to say impossible because a lot of people do it, but you're scraping by. It's a grind. Is probably the best word I can find for it. So about 2.5 months ago now, I went back into the corporate career, like you said, and I am so thrilled to be able to like reshape my life now, given this new adventure. And I've taken a lot from what I learned through poker, the consistency aspect, and been able to be even better at my day job. And then it's translating to being even better in my poker career.
I'm super interested in that because I think that there's a lot of things we learn in this domain that we live in with poker that translate very well to the rest of our lives. Maybe it's corporate world, but even personal relationships or just life in general. What are some like core things you've learned from poker that you apply a poker mindset to in like the corporate world or in your relationships or your everyday life?
Capacity leveling. I had to completely schedule my life from scratch when I started being a poker player. Month 1, I watched all of One Piece, 1,700 episodes. So it didn't start off great,
Right.
but then I had to like reflect. I was feeling shitty. I started to exercise. I started to like create a life that I was really proud of. And now I get to take that back into my regular life. I could say no to things that don't add value to me. I don't add value to it. So I just leave it there. And so I'm also challenging myself too. Sometimes I'm a perfectionist, so I could spend like an hour to X amount of hours on something to just make it perfect. But now I've started to set like, hey, you get 30 minutes to do this. Do the best you can in that 30 minutes and then stop. And it actually motivates me to make it better in that 30 minutes.
Interesting.
All right, Mika, I need to ask you to tell us all a little bit, because I know it all started with Pocket Queens, and I'm your Pocket Queen sister here. Tell us about the mentorship program a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just say I'm going for a hat trick here. So just announced mentorship program last week. Just starting this pod tonight. So my third one's going to be winning something really big. So hopefully that happens. But for the mentorship program, it's partnered poker. We just announced it last week. Applications are open all the way to the end of the month. And essentially the goal here is, it was really difficult for me to, find and identify poker and how to be successful. And I hope to make it easier with the help of Christina Gollins for other people who are willing to put the work in. I'm not saying it's going to make you from an unprofitable player to a profitable player, but you're going to go to somebody who genuinely cares about you, who wants to give you good advice. I've coined this term GANFI, and it's good advice, not for you. All poker players love giving unsolicited advice. And sometimes it all comes from their heart and it's well-intentioned, but it's just not applicable to you and you can't take it. So through this program, mentors will listen to you. They'll help you hone your strengths and hopefully help you develop as not only a poker player, but as a human as well.
Well, can I highlight really quick? Pocket Queens. Yeah, Grace kicks my ass every event that I play in. When she sits next to me, she sits on my left, and I'm just like, we're just folding from here on out.
Okay, I am so lucky to know Grace and every Pocket Queen, so
she's awesome.
So for like your poker goals, what are you doing to kind of accomplish those? Like what are the steps you're taking this year?
I'm gonna say, okay, I'll answer this question, but my computer might die and I'm gonna plug it in. So if I get cut off, that's why. My poker goals are re-implement poker back into my life. I kind of took a hiatus with going back into the corporate career. I am going to win a satellite to play into the main event or buy myself into the main event. And I'd love to make a deep run this year. I already hit my dream this year. Kudos to me. That's fantastic. You guys are all my friends, so you'd benefit as well. But just keep putting the time in. I've been a really studied player. As you all know, I studied GTO. I put in a lot of hours. And this past 6 months, I've really leaned into how to adjust to player tendencies and using GTO as a basis, but really just picking off bluffs, just applying nonstop aggression. And it's really been paying off. And I've actually been hitting a lot of final tables. So kind of finding more of my style through that is one of my goals. I'd like to get into a really good fitness routine and healthy habits. I find that I'm more intelligent, I'm more creative when I'm in those routines. So that's, I guess, the second phase of my goal. And then I'd like to have like a 20K plus profitable year in MTTs alone. I think that would be a good, like, tangible goal to hit.
Well, I'm going to manifest the main event final table for you. All right.
Frequency.
Positive vibe.
I'm hoping that you can come up with a good goal in February after you get your 20,000 goal in January. That's
sure. Exactly.
That's what I want to see.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
You bet.
Hey,
Brett.
Hey, Mika.
Oh,
hey,
go ahead.
Mika,
Yeah.
really quick. Is there any shot that you can like mentor or coach these dolts that are in here with us right now? Naturally, not me or Day. I'm not saying Day and I. But everyone else.
Just say our name.
Can you mentor these adults when you get a chance?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
I'll give you
I'll
some
schedule
items.
it after the call.
Perfect. I'll give you some items that you probably want to cover with them.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't take Jay's 3-handed poker course.
Yeah.
Or
Brett.
Craig's pocket aces course. Okay, go ahead.
Oh my God, Brett, you kind of have a similar situation to Mika in terms of your career path and where it's taken you, but with one twist. You didn't really get the opportunity to kind of choose to go in and out. You were kind of forced through some life circumstances to take a step back. But what's been cool to see is you didn't spend a ton of time feeling sorry for yourself. You didn't spend a ton of time like moping around. You went right back into it. You got into the workforce, you got a job, you started building the role again, you started getting out on the cast streets, you kind of bounced and went right back into it. So talk about kind of your path. Yeah.
Don't forget, started the hitting the dating apps too, Don't forget that.
Yes,
How
he's
can
on
we
the
forget
dating
that?
apps. You can find him as the Comeback Kid on any of
Thank
the
you.
dating apps there.
Ooh.
Our resident dating expert. But yeah, talk about what this path's been like for you and kind of how it's been different from Mika in how you've kind of had to, pick yourself up and go.
Yeah, it's been a tough 3 years roughly. I mean, went through a divorce, went through bankruptcy, had a car stolen, trying to have, the single dad life, trying to get out there and date, in the dating world, which kind of took a little pause on that lately. Everybody uses filters. Apparently it's a little wild out there.
Whoa. But Brett,
Good for you.
you made a choice to go on a first date on New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
Put yourself up for
that's
failure.
probably not the best. That's probably
Not
not
a
the best
first
in the
date.
world.
Not a first date.
It would have been great though if she didn't down like 12 vodka tonics. That probably would have been better. So. No, it's. I'm just trying to really, like you said, Rob, the comeback kid. I'm trying to, start over from nothing. I took, while I was married, I almost pretty much had a 10-year hiatus. I think once a year for like 3-4 days, maybe a week, I'd go to the World Series, just shot take 2 tournaments. That's not really a recipe for success. It was just kind of keeping my toes in the water, if you will, without actually getting back in it. And so now, last year I tried to build a bankroll. I got close. My goal last year was 10K, got up to 8, blew that at the World Series with poor bankroll management, as I think some of you know. And, so I'm kind of just starting over again. And I think, this is the year where I really want to focus on specific goals when it comes to like my bankroll building, how many cash hours I want to play, how many live tournaments, and really stick to the script. That way I can continue just to build the role. And I, like you said, I went and got a job again, and I was doing the contract thing for a while. It wasn't really working out. I kind of got tapped on the shoulder to take this recruiting director role. And so I've kind of just hit the ground running with that, created like almost a new division, wrote a business plan for that company in order to kind of create this. So, I feel like it's, starting over a bit, but I feel like I have a really good path moving forward and good goals to focus on. And now I've got those horse blinders on and no more dating to distract me.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't believe that. Do you guys believe that at all?
I got off the ads. Like they're all gone. I got off all of them.
Brett, I call.
Right. When Rob asked you, like they were mentioned, you're the comeback kid. I was wondering, what are we coming back from? Like bad dates, failed OnlyFans sites? Like what exactly are we? But
all the above. Yeah, it's just, I was broke, like straight up flat broke. It's as broke as you can get. Almost lost my house, almost lost my car, stuff like that where, literally starting over from zero. So,
women love that.
Yeah, I hear that's what they like, right? No security, someone broke. Actually, technically, that probably would be better for me if I was still broke, because I think that is what, for some reason, all these guys out there who are just kind of POSs somehow get all these dates, and things. But yeah,
shit, with that head of hair, how could you not get a date?
Right. Yeah, I guess there's more to life than hair, apparently. So
I don't know, man. Well, that's some of us are wearing a hat for a reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
At sexy Brett / OnlyFans.
Just feet. It's just feet. No, but I want to build that bankroll back up. That's my main goal this year, is really get to that 10K. That's my first milestone, and then keep it growing from there. And I feel pretty good about it. Yeah.
Let me ask you, and I know we've had you talked about like the summer, right? And we had a really good conversation this summer, and at least I personally think it was really good. I know you and I spent some time together out there, like off the felt, we hung out, we did, the drive-in theater, just so that we can
snappies,
you know what I mean? So ultimately, like, what do you feel like you want out of the game?
That's kind of a good question. Ultimately, I still always want to play, but I feel like poker for me would be a means to an end. Again, I want that time with my son. I want that freedom. I don't think it's going to happen just from playing poker. If I was one of these Triton Crusher greats, sure, but that's not really the case right now. So I think, following that entrepreneur path and really just having that business or having some, main income source, even beyond just being a recruiting director, I think that, coupled with being able to play poker and have that freedom is really just the ultimate end goal for me, regardless of how I get there. But I always want to play poker. I love poker. Like you guys know, I've been playing it since 2003, since the Moneymaker days. And I've, even when I was in a 10-year hiatus, I still tried at least a week a year to try to get out there and still give it my best shot and give it my all and stay in the game as best I can. I've always done training too. I've always had training sites, and right now I edit for Faraz Jaka's site and things like that. So I try to stay in the game as much as I can when I'm not playing, if that makes sense.
Right.
Brett, I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of yours. I don't know that I've ever told you that. You're extremely resilient. You're super humble, and you just keep trying. And so I think Comeback Kid's great. Given Jay asked me to give you mentoring lessons after this, I just would like to tee it up with what's holding you back?
It's a good question. I don't know. Like right now it feels like time. Like I am so spread like super thin, it's work. And then I do part-time editing. And then dad life, that's 50% of my time, which I don't do anything. When I have my son, it is focus on him. I want to play with him. I want to have fun. He's not going to be 8 forever. One day he's going to be 13 and doesn't want to hang out with dad. Dad's a dork and whatever. And I want to go hang out with my friends. So I'm on borrowed time here. And I think that's, that time crunch a little bit there is a little bit of the issue. And then, then trying to play poker in that like 2-3 hours, a week, if you will, that I have. I only get to play about 2 tournaments every month if I'm lucky. I think the time crunch a little bit. So that's again why I want to put myself in a better position to have more time and have more freedom to do things. So I think that's personally what's holding me back. I don't think there's like a mental game thing going on or, anything of that nature personally. I think I just need more time to put in volume.
Okay, so we're going to start working on capacity leveling because I just learned that. And then another tip is what my parents did is they just brought me to the casino when I stopped caring about them to gamble with them.
I like that.
He's 21. Yeah, we'll be playing poker together. Absolutely. I hope he does kind of take an interest in the game already. So slight.
I actually like
it helps
that.
him fall asleep. So whatever that, take that for what it's worth.
That's next level.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
So Brett, I want to ask you just some curiosity. What do you think is the best part of your game right now as it stands?
My post flop reading ability, my hand reading.
Oh, good.
I think that's my strongest. Part of my game, which kind of starts with pre-flop, I guess. I have really good pre-flop selection, and then post-flop, I feel like I'm very good at being able to just read the situation and just my experience. I've been in. I can't think of a situation I have not been in. I think that experience plays a big factor.
To follow up that, you're talking about time and having to work in this time. Where do you see the best use of your time? The cash games or the tournaments?
Best use for building a bankroll cash, ultimately, but I enjoy tournaments so much more. I like the challenge, the nuances, the different stack sizes, constantly changing tables and having to readjust, and new players come to your table and adjusting. You don't get that in cash games that often. Right. Most everybody has the same stack size, or they either buy in short or whatever. But it's the nuances and the challenge of the tournaments really excite me. But I need to build a bankroll, and that doesn't really come from tournaments. I mean, I have been cashing lately in a pretty high rate, but it's min cashes basically. I can't seem to go deep on day twos for some reason. So I think cash is ultimately what's going to help me get to that milestone.
Okay.
Yeah. That helps. I think from my perspective, I think your call out here of what's the best part of your game, it's probably attracting bad beats by the worst hand possible. That's probably the reality.
I have ran bad.
The hand reading is there. The hand reading skills are there, but it's probably that you attract probably the worst hand that could possibly beat you. But it's fine. We're working on that.
Well, I should check Ray's bottom set. We had that conversation.
It's ironic because the problem is the identical problem he had with the dating scene.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty
bit of a trend.
Things go hand in hand, But
that's weird, right? It's a direct correlation, it seems like.
Scary. You might need to take hypnosis.
Yeah. How to be single and not want to mingle. Got it.
Yeah.
And we're going to say real quick, I want to give a shout out to everybody that's listening on podcast channels. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, be sure to check out watchchasethedream.com. It'll take you straight to the YouTube channel. We actually record these live every Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern. You can join us and be a part of the chat and hang out. And of course, if you're in the chat, hit that subscribe button so you can get notifications when we put out additional content throughout the week. We've got all kinds of funny clips. We've been doing this for a little bit and practicing on the side. I'm going to bring in Day here. And as a result, the butterfly effect is such a cool thing, the way things work. Mika decides to start a mentorship program. And then I meet Mika through a completely different project, and I get in the mentorship program. And then Mika says, "Oh, I'm going to partner you with this Diana person, and you're going to butcher her name for the first 3 months you know her and call her Diana. And you're going to be in charge of coaching her, but you're going to pretty much learn from her while you're trying to coach her. She's actually going to teach you things." And there we go. And now we're all here hanging out, and it's been a genuine joy to get to know you. I don't know that I really helped you that much, but it's been fun watching your journey. And one of the things with you, Day, that I think amazes me and has me so excited for you is the way you've talked about parenting. There's a passion and a joy and a gifting, and it means a lot to you. And I know that you have put every ounce of energy into your kids. You have a beautiful family, by the way. And you did everything. You sacrificed everything. You gave them their all. You put them first. And now you're kind of in the spot where they're growing up, they're successful, they're doing their own ththings. They're gonna start families of their own soon. Have fun with that.
I don't know. I don't know.
And
Don't get ahead of yourself.
and now it's your turn. It's your opportunity to kind of step into the spotlight and chase your dreams, and that has to be pretty existential. And I would think there's probably a little bit of uncomfortableness around it. You've been so genuinely caring and supporting for other people. It might feel a little awkward or weird to put yourself first. So what does your lawyer look like? It sounds like you're leaving us. You're going to be not the podcast, but you're going to be abroad, overseas, doing all these kind of things. So talk to us about this transition, this experience, what it's like for you and where you're going in 2025.
Well, it's interesting because as you're saying all of these things, all I could think of was it's so freaking difficult to put myself first. And it takes, Craig and I have talked about this, like you have to force yourself to put yourself first sometimes. Because if it's not in your nature, and it's not in my nature, for those of you guys who don't know me, which is probably pretty much anyone watching, I have 4 kids. They're aged 19 through 26. And they're all doing great, knock on wood. Nobody, I don't know. I'm super proud. You're right. I am totally proud. And I did put everything into it. I was an at-home mom. I did all the volunteering. I was the PTO mom, like Rob put in our little intro there. I was PTO president. I was the school advisory chair committee. Like I did the soccer coaching. I did the Girl Scout leader. If somebody said, "Hey, we need a volunteer," I was like, "Okay, I got it. I got you." And my kids saw that, and I think that made a difference in their lives too. When you're giving back all the time, but I always had this very hidden passion for poker. I was in a home game for 15 years once a week, and that was the way I put myself first. Like every Thursday night, I got to put myself first and go play poker in a home game. And when the kids were all in bed before Black Friday, I was playing, on Full Tilt. Are we allowed to say Full Tilt on here?
No.
Okay. Sorry. And so I had this passion, and finally my baby was going to college, and I was like, it's now or never. And before she went, actually, is when I started it in the end of 2021 after the pandemic. I was like, we're going to do it. And I'd been studying a lot. I'd been playing once a week. And so I said, okay, I'm jumping in, and it's been the best decision I made. I love it. I got involved with Pocket Queens. I love that group. This group rocks. I love all of you guys and what you've brought to my poker journey.
You mean 80 text messages a day?
Yeah, I like the 80 text messages a day.
I blame Jay.
You should probably stop texting her, Craig.
Wait,
stop
what else?
Her when she's trying to
Craig,
sleep.
what else do I have to do? I'm retired now.
Oh my gosh.
Mika,
Jay and I can go back and forth as you guys are working.
It's not too late, Mika, to be miserably distracted. We can add you to the group at any point, and you can just listen to the drivel all day long while you're trying to be productive and work.
You just got to learn
how to turn
show
your
up
to this.
Yeah, you just have to learn to turn your notifications off and don't let the vibrate go off.
Yeah, so
right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm trying to teach and my phone's just blowing up all day. Day, I have to ask you. You said that there's something about poker that just draws you. I want to know what that is. Like, how does this PTO mom who's doing stuff? What is it about poker? What is it about the game of poker that is so compelling to you?
It's everything that I was good at, as a kid and growing up. And kind of how you have those abilities, and it's kind of, how you define yourself. So I was the athlete. I played soccer for 12 years. I actually played every sport, but soccer was my main one. I was the math geek. loved, I mean, you give me a logic puzzle, like that's it. I love it. I playing chess, building Legos, like this was my vibe. So when I discovered poker, as my life turned into this very motherly, like Rob said, taking care of everybody, like I still had that edge and that competitiveness and that drive. And poker's such an outlet for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I see
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
for
that's-
sure.
So, this is now my new path, but somehow I still have to put myself first, yet I'm married to somebody who doesn't play poker. So my goals need to align with his goals in this next phase of our life, as because we're both going to Europe. It's not just me. I'm not going to just be going by myself traveling through Europe playing poker. I'm now going, we're going, and I'm going to have to figure out how to travel and play, but to still be supportive to my partner. Kind of like what Mika was saying. It's there's always going to be some sort of internal battle when you're trying to prioritize yourself. But so that's what I'm going to be working on, figuring all of those things out. I've got some very concrete stuff, like I'm going to play 30 live MTTs this year. I want to start playing cash because everybody's talking about how it's just more consistent. So once a week cash. I want to keep playing online, at least 10 to 15 MTTs a week. And I'm doing the nice Octopi trainer, 30 minutes, 3-4 times a week. So I've got my concrete goals, like Rob teaches us to do. And yeah, I'm looking forward to 2025.
So speaking of concrete goals, you mentioned cash, but do you have an idea of how many hours of cash you want to do this year?
I'm thinking I max out at about 4 hours a session. So if I do once a week, it's probably just going to be like anywhere between 2 and 4 hours.
Okay.
I can't do the long sessions.
You're thinking like 48 a year? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not
Just
bad
to
for your
start
first
getting
go
into
at
it.
Yeah, not bad for your first go at it.
Yeah.
Your ROI could be really big too, if really high if you're able to get a quick score in 2 hours and bounce. So,
Right. You're about to say book the win.
Yeah.
Book the win.
Yeah.
Book the win. Get out.
That's the strategy.
Right, book the win. Craig does it all the time. He wins
All the
$5,
time.
then he's like, I bought in for 3. I'm out for 305. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
He's like 45 minutes in. All right, time to go.
It works. It works.
So with the MTT background, right? What is are you going to plan to do some study around cash? Or are you just going to kind of jump in? Or are you just going to call me and ask me what you should do?
Call who?
Okay, well,
She has my phone number. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to be very honest. I am not going to study cash. I mean, I've studied deep stack MTT play though, like early stage deep stack, and I'm just going to try to apply what I know already. But I'm going to keep studying. I'm going to keep studying MTTs, but no, I'm not going to study cash. And I'll call you. I'll call you.
That's talking hands, though. I would suggest talking cash hands.
Yeah,
there are some different nuances there than just like comparing to deep stack, MTTs. There's definitely a good correlation there, but I do suggest it's just one thing you study and nothing else. Just talk hands with either us.
Yeah, mine's
absolutely.
Shifts. I'll say this about you, Day. For those that don't know you, I grind hard. I grind hard. And I will tell you, you grind hard, and it is admirable between and Mika alike. I think the two of you are like a phenomenal inspiration, especially for the women in the game. And I think you guys have just like the huge ability to carry the torch, in my opinion. There's a lot of women that are out there, they're playing, but I think as folks get to know you and follow your journeys, you guys grind hard. And I think when we talk about levels of success, I even sometimes look at it and say Day could probably be one of the most successful ones, within our, immediate peer group, between like you and Mika. Like, you guys really grind hard. So I definitely appreciate that. You guys are an inspiration, I think, for everyone. And I think you just continue to push the needle, and you'll probably have some pretty strong success this year. So kudos to you. I bow my head. Keep the grind.
Thanks, Jay.
1000%.
While we're on the cash topic, Day, and I know you said you're not going to study, but my mentor actually recommended this book. And I know you really love math and logic, and even looking at your schedule, like you have 30 live MTTs, 10 to 15. It's very objective. Like, they're tangible goals you could hit. I'm really curious, how did you draft such a cool goal list and tangibility? I think a lot of people struggle with what should they even do in the first place.
So I'm actually a horrible spreadsheet nerd, and it may not work for everybody, but I've actually put my goals not only with exact numbers, but I've divided it up with a budget per quarter. I mean, I geek this stuff out, but I do it also to hold myself accountable. So I have this spreadsheet, and I'm starting with X amount online and X amount for cash. And then I get to look at the data at the end of the year and say, okay, in cash, I did this much, or in tournaments I did and I get to kind of see for the following year, where did I do well? Where do I need to improve? What do I need to, study for next year? Maybe I have to pull back in one area. And it just, you're like this too. We're data people. Data's everything, right?
Yeah, it seems like you might be able to mentor Jay on some of that discipline and consistency then.
Fair.
He'll mentor me on cash, and I'll get you there, Jay.
Yeah, we can do the exchange. I love it.
Jay
That's
and
perfect.
I work well together.
I love it. This is perfect. See, I come out winning, Craig, because I know how to negotiate things.
All right, buddy. All right.
Sean, we're going to bring it over to you. And I'll never forget the first day I met you. And I told my wife that I had this cool new friend that looked like Brett Spinner. And then she said, nobody you ever says that looks like anybody actually looks like what they look like. It's a never ending thing with us. We always get into fights, but I think you look like Brett Spinner. You're just cooler. And it's interesting because, Sean, you've kind of had a unique into how you got into poker and how you learned about poker, and your entire journey has kind of been a little bit different, but you're kind of at a crossroads now here too, where heading into this year, you've spent a lot of time being a part of other projects and doing other things, and you've spent a lot of time being a tournament player, and now you're kind of in this realm where you're switching more into the cash games. You're kind of focusing on yourself and putting yourself in the best position for you to be successful, and you're kind of breaking out from the mold. So talk about what's come to this transition, how you've gotten to this point, and where this is taking you in 2025.
Wow. That's a lot of real estate to cover. Yeah, I mean, the way I got here. Well, I was in television for a long time.
I've never seen you on anything.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I have a good way of being there and not being there.
But
yeah, I was hired to shoot the WPT that was going to come through Tunica. And actually that ended up falling through, but I had to study the game, and that's how I got into it. But, boredom for 20 years after that, and many injuries have brought me where I am. So now I guess I'm retired from camera operating, but play poker. And yeah, you're right. I've been kind of following everybody else's lead for a little bit now and getting a feel for things, tournaments and all that stuff. And now I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, because I've soaked in lots and lots of information. And to steal a movie line, half the time when I hear advice, I want to look at the person and be like, I would agree with you if you were right. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm kind of finding some new roads to take, maybe kind of creating them myself, not necessarily, creating brand new roads out of nothing, but maybe not going down the same highway as everybody else.
Sean, is this like with life, or is this with poker, or is this both?
I think it'd be very fair to say both. Certainly in poker, though. I just hear information and soak it in, think about it, and I'm like, yeah, but what if we slice the bread before we sell it? And that kind of sends me down a different path every time. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am on my goals. One way I think about it is that my goals, I don't really have any, because to me, goals are setting artificial ceilings. And it's kind of like hopping into a car. You shut up and drive. And when the car gets on E, you're there. So that's my path. That's my newer path, I guess.
So what fills your cup? I mean, you mentioned you want to do things your way and do what you want to do. Well, what does that look like? What do you want to do other than poker, I guess?
More often than not, bourbon fills my cup.
What kind of bourbon? What are we talking about?
The good
I'm
stuff.
not that picky, but I am a Maker's Mark guy. If I really, if I'm getting it for the taste, it's going to be Maker's Mark. If I'm getting it for the other benefits, then I don't care.
So neat rocks. What do you do?
Oh, Coke. Just mix it with Coke. You'll be fine. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can chug it right out of the bottle if you want to. But
I'm an on the rocks guy, so just out of curiosity.
But yeah,
Sean,
what do you mean, Phil? Yeah.
No, go ahead. I want you to hear this answer to Brett's question.
Yeah, I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear his question again, actually.
So yeah, like what does it for you? What is it that you want to do? What is like filling your own cup, meaning pouring yourself into what you want to do.
See.
So what makes you happy?
I see what you're saying. Well, I'm
Have
a
you seen
little
the
different.
posters behind him?
I love Pennywise. That's a good one.
One of the directions I'm going to go now that I've decided to change things up is to kind of embrace my natural darkness. I might be a little darker than most, and just start to use it as a tool. Because I'm not the guy who naturally is going to run around and want to save the spotted owl. It's just not me. And I'm tired of faking that for other people. The truth is, when I play or when I do most things in life, really, I just kind of want to eat the souls of the overconfident and then kind of very quietly enjoy the flavor and then bleed back into the darkness again until you guys are unfortunate to see me again.
I'm scared.
Somebody
hold me.
Sean has become a vampire. He's describing a vampire, isn't he? Like,
a little bit, yeah.
I will drink their blood.
Oh, far too salty.
Sean,
With bourbon.
You and I have had probably I've known you the longest from anybody else in the group. In terms of you and I were fortunate enough to be put together as study buddies by our common coach, Carlos Welch. And when I was talking to Carlos, he's like, "Hey, there's this guy in Memphis. I think you really need to work with him. You guys are working on a lot of the same stuff. Your games are in a similar place. I think you guys would click." And I remember our first couple of times sending hand history back and forth. And the first time I was like, "Hey, let's just get on a video chat." And I was immediately taken by your creativity in terms of how to think about poker hands. I think, you've alluded to a couple of times kind of taking your own road. And I think that that's really important because I think a lot of us get trapped into kind of, listening to the same type of stuff, reading the same type of material, studying the same way. And then we all end up playing poker the same way. And if we're all playing the same way, it's hard to kind of get an edge. So I'm wondering kind of what do you see as, where are the edges in this being dark? Like, what are you looking for? You mentioned stealing the souls of the overconfident. What do you think the biggest marks for you are? What are you looking for?
More than anything else, to be frank and honest about it.
Sure.
It really does. It comes down to the overconfidence. I'm sitting at a table. I'm across from somebody who really thinks they know what the hell they're doing, and they're absolutely sure of it. And because they know what they're doing, I know what they're doing. And so all I really have to do is do something that breaks that plan. And then it's a beautiful thing, because my perfect day of poker is me standing up with the other guy's money, walking away, him thinking I'm a moron. And I am just like the whole time, just smiling inside. But on the outside, I'm like, oh, shucky darn, I sure did get your cash. I don't know. Maybe next time you'll get mine. You know.
There you go. So, Sean, I have to ask you that. Do you think, though? What do you think is your greatest weakness? Like, what's holding you back from being like? Are there things holding you back?
That's part of what I'm going to go after this year. I think more than anything else, the things holding me back were allowing myself to get weighed down by a lot of things that weren't really generating anything for me. And I really, on the flip side of it, the things that were pulling this from me usually weren't getting that much out of me either. So it's just kind of like the equivalent of wasted calories or something if you're on a diet, and so I'm shedding a lot of that. So I guess I'm on a poker player's efficiency diet.
Speaking Craig's language right there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, all you need is a straw. You get you a straw, man.
And some blueberries.
Yeah, get you a straw and we'll get you going.
As long as you
drink
have
your
blueberries.
milkshake.
Hey, are you going to quit smoking with me alongside me? We can do this together.
Please.
I'm ready to go, man. I've already got one of these things ready to go. So, the vape thing.
Oh,
that's going to be my shift. That'll be my bridge.
You want air pockets. It's okay. All right.
I mean, it's better than the smoke. So that'll be my bridge. But yeah, we'll go after it together. I'm all about it.
Let's do it.
I love it. All right. Into the fire here.
No. Nobody wants to hear from me.
Because
you're right.
Let me tell you something. Of all the people, this group is amazing. There's been a lot of adversity. There's been a lot of overcoming. And for a lot of people, the challenge has been somewhat in the past, and now a lot of us are rebounding. But Craig has the most difficult, miserable, stressful, anxiety-inducing decision on the planet coming up for him. And one that he's been wrestling with for years and is going to come to a head here because he has the opportunity. Yeah. Well, I had to throw back to 47 years ago when you were a pro at Iowa.
Duke, but okay.
I mean, Iowa, Duke, same thing.
The wrestling team at Iowa is way better.
Yeah. But Craig, you've been juggling with this idea of going the opposite route of Mika and Brett, and going from a very long and successful teaching career full-time into poker. And it's not an easy decision because there's benefits and there's retirement and there's security and all of these things.
You've been talking to Lori? You've been talking to Lori, haven't you?
I may have called personnel services over at the high school and, asked a few questions. So, yeah, you've got this huge thing kind of hanging over you. Where are you at with this, and how are you over this next 6-12 months going to start to parse this out and figure out a lane?
This is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I really like Day. I was drawn to poker because of the challenge. It's same thing. It really fit a lot of my natural skill sets. I was a competitive athlete. I excelled in a solo sport, so I was used to kind of going it alone. And after all those years of being an athlete, poker was a really good competitive outlet for me. And at first it was just make a little money here, make a little money there. Can I even become a winning player? And then it just kind of slowly progressed to where I was able to earn, some side income, significant amounts of money that would make living on a teacher's salary easier. And at some point it hit me, I wonder if I could replace my salary doing this. And would I enjoy it? And the problem is, well, obviously, family, life, kids. My children are now old enough that I can go off and do these things, and I'm not neglecting them because they're adults now. And that was kind of a thought I had, is like, okay, now is the time. If I'm ever going to do it, now is the time. Where I'm kind of young enough maybe to do it, but not, don't have the kids at home. but the fear of leaving behind the steady income, and it is a teacher's salary, but I've been doing it a long time, so um, it's comfortable. It's comfortable knowing what I'm going to make each month, and it's comfortable knowing that I have that security. But my job is challenging, but at the same time, it's not. At this point in my career, the teaching isn't a challenge. The students can be challenging, but it's a fun challenge. But I know I can do. I'll put it this way: I've proven to myself that I can do that well. And I don't feel like I've proven to myself that I can do the poker well enough to make a living at it. Could I really do it? So more of it's like the challenge of saying, could I do it? Is it even, am I deluding myself into thinking I can do this, or could I do it? And I've gone back and forth on it. And on some level, if I'm going to try it, now's the time. But the problem is, I like my classroom. I like my kids. I like teaching. I enjoy watching that process and engaging with those kids. And I get a lot of energy from that. And I worry that if I go this route, I don't get that feedback loop of energy. If I'm if I'm doing what Sean's saying and stealing people's souls, where's I don't know if it's socially redemptive or social redeeming value of it. So I have found some satisfaction in the poker domain with my coaching. The helping other people get better at poker has been very gratifying. It fills that niche for me for that teaching does.
So what are your ideal pathways here? Are you talking it's either teaching or poker, or could you do like private tutoring and do poker and you still get a little bit of that happiness that you get from teaching students? Or have you thought about which paths that you could actually take in order to pick one?
I mean, there are ways to mitigate it, like in terms of like if I were to go like quit my job. God, if my wife watches this, she's gonna lose her mind. We've talked about it. I shouldn't say it like that, but like if I were to quit my job, she's director of HR, by the way, at the school I work at, so I can't quit like today, last minute. That would not be good. But if I were to plan ahead and say, okay, this is going to be my last year, and I'm going to slowly shift over into this other thing, there are ways to mitigate where I could pick up tutoring. I could do the opposite. I could poker with my primary, and I could supplement by doing some tutoring and some other work in the education field. That's possible. And the other thing about it is like, the reality is if it doesn't work out, I can probably go back, maybe not to the exact spot I'm in. And that's, it's a very, very good situation. I love the place I teach. I love the people I work with. I'm in a good situation. It would be very difficult to find as good a situation. That's probably the biggest fear. I have the safety net of saying, well, if it doesn't work out, I could always go back to teaching, but I don't know if I could ever find as good a spot as I'm in right now. So I think that's the biggest part of it.
So if you were going to leave, what would be your goals? What would be the path to get there then? Like, what do you want to do for this year for your goals?
Well, I mean, what I really want to do is prove that it's possible. I want to be able to prove that I could generate enough income that if I were to do it, I could basically replace the income I have now. And that's a pretty tough ask because it's not just replacing my teaching income, because right now I have my teaching income plus my poker. So I have to have that much more in poker to make up for it. It's not just replace I have to do that plus what I already make. So I'm already doing okay. I mean, I've year over year, I've been a winning poker player. And so I think from a goal standpoint, it's part of it's a validation. Some of you guys know this. A lot of us have been doing this for a long time. And Brett, you had what most of us would die for. You were I know that bracelet was almost in your hands, right? But second place in a bracelet event for the score. I mean, that's a career for most people, right? But at the same time, you're like me. You want the damn trophy. You want to validate the time you've put in. I've put a lot of time into poker, and I've made money playing poker, and I've won some tournaments, but I've never won anything that's substantial. I've never won anything that would kind of stamp my name on something and say, okay, I'm validated for all the work and effort I put in. And I know that shouldn't be something I need from other people to feel validated, but with the work that most of us have put into this game, it feels nice at some point to be recognized for it by stamping your name on that win. So, I would like to win something this year. I would like to win something, a pretty significant tournament to kind of validate what I've been working on all these years.
Well, hey, you have trophies. I do not. If you've noticed,
I got.
So
but
I'm the only one here that doesn't have any trophies.
But that's an online. That's online. That's not the same. I want to win a live trophy, a live event. Yeah, there you go. Day.
I feel you on that. I do. Yeah, there's that
I'm just
rattlesnake.
gonna keep this right here. Yeah. All right.
That's a beautiful trophy.
Hey, can you hold it up again for him? Really quick? All right.
There
Cool.
you go. Okay. Anytime. I need to work out. All right. So Craig, Ginger in the chat asked a really good question.
Oh, great.
She
I love
asked,
Ginger.
why can't you take a sabbatical for 1 year and try it out?
Like a leave, right?
And then you go back to the same position, right?
I would, if my school would allow that, I think I would try to do that. I just don't know if they would allow that. One of the problems is I'm the only person on my campus that teaches the courses I teach. I don't share a course with a single other person. So it's not like, I have a couple of these classes somebody else takes and someone could so it's like I'm in a pretty unique position, and I really appreciate that because I have a lot of autonomy too. That's the other thing. I don't know any other situations where I can have the autonomy that I'm given in my job, because I have these standalone courses that no one else teaches. So it may not be as easy as something like that. But I mean, ideally that would be the perfect situation. Just, even if I went out and proved that I could do it, I might find out that, I can do it, but I don't want to do it. I want to stay in this realm where I can dip my toe in professional poker when I want to, but come back to the real world because, we've spent our summers. I've done it, go out in the summer, spend my life, 2 weeks, 3 weeks grinding in Vegas, living that life. And then I have to decompress in the mountains of Utah and then go back to the real world and have that transition in between because it's a nice situation to be a part-time professional poker player.
Well, maybe you need to sit down and have a little conversation with HR/Lori to see if they'll let you do it.
Definitely HR.
You do have a benefit there.
Right.
Yeah. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
So, all right. We're going to have a little talk.
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
For those that don't know, Craig and I have a phenomenal relationship.
Besties.
We are besties. All of us here are very close. And we have our own digs, but Craig and I have a very unique relationship here. And like a few things for me, Craig, that I want to ask you. Sure. I mean, and the people want to know as well, right?
Oh God, here it goes.
I'm going to be pretty transparent here, right? This is where I get to be your age, right? And I get to give you some feedback here, I'm going to be my age since I'm under 30. So
call.
What? I'm not bluffing. Stop bluffing.
Well played, sir.
Stop targeting. So first thing is I want to know. So are you saying, right, like are you saying right now that you're admitting that those 2 animal ornaments that you got on the mantle from Global are not significant in your space? Is that accurate? You're admitting that
because I win online poker tournaments frequently. Like it's not special for me to win an online tournament.
But you have the hardware, right?
Yeah,
but
the hardware's nice. The hardware's nice because they're on my shelf and not yours.
But it's not. Well, yeah. I mean, I got something back there. All right. So why do you feel this need of validation other than, wanting to say like the work I put in my career, the things that I've done, I now want to put the stamp, right? And I'm saying this because I'm going to be very frank, right? Because I love you so much, Craig. Like
I appreciate it.
I love you. But like, are you starting to feel like you're not realizing your true ability, and maybe it's time to start actually doing that because maybe you're holding yourself back? You probably approach this game with the most unique mindset, right? And you have the ability to actually probably crush every event that you step in. Variance is variance. But you know you have to put in the volume. You know you have to put in the time. So like if you're setting a minimal goal this year, be like, hey, I'm going to at least, go out there and I'm going to knock out 20, 25 events. You and I both know that's not going to work. But you have the ability to go in there and do at least 2 a month, right? Sure. Whether it's a small one or a larger one. And then by the end of the year, I honestly think you're going to be in a place, it's probably, surprise yourself. I don't know why you need the validation. Like you don't need it. Your validation moving forward is me telling you that, Craig, you're the top 1% in every room that you've stepped in, and you just need to go out there and keep grinding. You're the only guy who walks into a cash room, right? Sits down and is like, oh, take a look at this. Like, oh, I'm up 1,500 in 60 minutes. Like you don't need no more validation, man. I think you've put the stamp and make the step.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes from a life of being a competitor and wrestling in tournaments where at the end you either win or you don't. And second place wasn't good, and third place was worse. And there was something about like being at the top that was validating to you. And I mean, to be fair, like all of us are sacrificing family time at times, absolutely, right? And all stuff. And if we're doing that and we're not getting the result, it starts to become like, is it worth it? Like I'm trying to be very careful to not let poker infringe on like the quality family time. But sometimes I have to carve out and say, hey guys, I'm going to be gone for this amount of time and I'm going to go do this. And like, Dave pointed out earlier, it feels very selfish at times because this is a pursuit that's for me.
Right.
It's fully for me. I could spend the time doing all kinds of other things. And so it has that selfish component. So if I'm going to be selfish, I want there to be some tangible reward at the end. And yeah, I can make money and I make a lot of I'm tired of making a lot of day twos short stacked. I'm ready to make a day two with a stack and go and win the thing. And, right. and yeah, I mean, it is about me developing a belief that, okay, I am good enough for this game. Like I can hang, I know you say, oh, I've seen you play and you can hang with these guys. Yeah, I can, but damn it, I want to beat them sometimes too.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being able to say, I can go sit in that game. I can play in that game. I can hold my own. No, I want to go in there and win it.
Well, you probably should avoid the seniors then. He plays the best poker of the summer in the toughest tournament that he played. Right. Fact. And he got wrecked, but that's regardless of the point. But he felt alive. It was literally all summer long. It was the one moment that I'm like, wow, Craig looks alive today. Like he's like, he really stop playing the damn seniors, man.
If I end up in my hotel room and see Jay in his underwear bragging about his, slot money from the night before every day, I'd be alive too.
Yeah, Jay and I spent 2 weeks together in a tiny hotel room, and the only event I went super deep in was a seniors event. I almost final tabled though.
Yeah. You wasted my time with that one.
But the Aria event was where I played my best poker against all the Euros.
And you felt good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt great.
And I think like at the end of the day, you're spot on. Like we have to find the balance, and I think that like for you, it's just a matter of, probably just being very clear on what that schedule is going to look like, and probably not avoid it. I mean, I have the same challenges too, right? So sometimes I'm just last minute. So like, that's one thing that I have to do is just be very intentional, to make sure, I can continue that balance. But I think like for you, honestly, like your validation is yourself, man. You don't need the world to support it. Like it's you, like you can do it. I think everyone here believes that you're more than beyond capable. And I don't think the world has actually seen the real Craig Savage yet. And I know it's coming. So I think that, as you push through this journey, I'm still going to give you a lot of hell about it. But
I expect no less.
I think again, like you just have the ability and the capability, and you have the experience. And I think that's what you need to hold on to, and just know like the day is going to come, but it ain't going to come in the living room. You know what I mean?
But it's like life, like you guys, poker and life, right? You can control the process. You can't control the result.
Right.
So
100%.
wanting that win, that result, that trophy, that bracelet, you can't control that.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And I think, the most important thing, and Rob will probably put the stamp on this, is just go and have fun with the game.
Well, I think
Because if
you could have stopped it. You could have just stopped it. Just go, right?
Just go.
For me,
that's
step one for
right.
you. But like, have fun with the game. Like, this is where I feel most players, and Rob and I have probably had some really deep discussions about this, but if you're someone who's just looking to, just get in the game, I want to play the game, but I don't know what to do. Like, where do I start? Like, just start with just like having fun. So like, if you're someone who's out there and you're just like looking at some like random course, and I'm not saying these courses aren't great, because there's like some really good information out there, but you're kind of also taking away from the one major factor is just go have fun, because you're going to lose, right? Let's just be real. And you don't want to be miserable when that loss comes, you want to be able to say, like, I went in there and I had fun doing it. You know what I mean? So don't lose that part of it, getting caught up in, the other, like, again, the validation pieces, like the significant win. I think we all want them, I don't have a damn trophy. You have 2 of them. I don't know they count, but you have 2 of them.
Well, you talk about going and having fun. I'll tell you, like, when I go and have my most profitable cast sessions are the ones where I'm just having fun, where I'm really into the game. I'm having fun. The table's fun. Same with tournaments. Like when I played my best while having fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And enjoy the game and keep the
let's stop grilling me. Let's get Rob in the hot seat. Are we ready to put Rob in the hot seat?
Real quick, I want to say something.
Right.
I do want to say it's easier to have fun, or it's poker is more fun when it's not your primary source of income. When I was doing it when I was just doing poker, I found it to be a lot more stressful than now that I have aside, the business that I do now, and playing poker. I think it's more fun when it's.
I have a quick question too, as well. Jay, be honest here. You were subtly just hitting on Craig, weren't you?
Yeah, silently.
I was pretty sure I read that right, because
it is.
I felt the ebbs and the flows in that, and
and then I'm not gonna be able to show my wife this episode, unfortunately.
No, hell no.
I hypnotized him.
It takes stones to hit on Craig on Lori's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got me in so much trouble. Now everyone in the world knows that I chose to do this podcast on my wife's birthday instead of taking my wife out.
They didn't know your wife's name. You just doxed your wife. I just said Lori.
Yeah, but you saw the picture. We went out before this.
Yes.
We got an early meal.
She has a horrible.
Well, that's all we have time for today.
No.
We're not
getting ready. No, sir.
End game.
Oh, chat, I gotta warn you right now. We're almost done, but I gotta tell a story, and you're about to hear a collective moan and groan from the peanut gallery here, because this story
he must have won another free roll.
This story starts.
He doesn't want to go for 7 million.
Right.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a passport.
That didn't make the cutting floor. This story starts in a bathtub. Okay.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Bathtub Thoughts by Rob Gardner.
Were you 5 years old?
Oh my God! Bubbles and pizza. That's what we're switching that to. Just toss the pizza. Like, it's no poker, just pizza and bubbles.
Were you talking to a rubber duck?
Yeah.
No, I was not. I was in the bath, and this is about 6-7 months ago. I was on TikTok and just randomly scrolling, not really like paying attention to anything, and just kind of letting my mind just zone off. And this guy comes on who I'm pretty sure is like one of those people that like sells fool's gold, or he sells a course on how to make $1 million as a stay-at-home person, and his course is like make a course about making $1 million and sell it to people. And he had all those vibes, and like it flipped up, and I'm just like, oh God, who's this guy? And then he said something that it's just one of those moments. It was very existential for me, and this is what he said. He said, if you make money hourly, like you work and you work for an hourly wage, it is the worst possible situation you can be in, because you trade time, which is a resource that you cannot get more of, for money, which is a resource that's always out there and you can always get more of. So you're trading your most valuable resource for a much lesser valuable resource. So the only way to get ahead and the only way to live effectively is to find a way to make money that's not directly correlated to your time. And people that don't do that struggle. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I've worked my ass off for the better part of the last 20 years. There's been very few years for me in the last 20 years where I didn't average 80 plus hours a week. And it's always felt like kind of almost getting there. I mean, I've made progress and things have happened, but it has been a brutal grind. And I didn't listen to the rest of the video. I'm sure he sold some amazing course after that. I was it. Like, I shut the phone off and I just started to think about this. And I'm like, this makes sense. Like, I need to do something or find something or build something that I can generate revenue with that's not, tied to my time directly. And so I took a week to think about it, and I was like, you know what? I think I need to get a product. And I'd say, oh God, like 9 years ago, or like when I first got back into poker, I had thrown together a couple videos of some like tips and tricks to how to play poker. I think I gave it to like 4 or 5 of my friends. You know, it was kind of a fun experiment thing. And I started thinking back to that, and I was like, you know, you look at the poker space today, and so much of the training is, and Craig would attest to this, is so, and really this is America in general. Our education system sucks, right? Ooh. Top to bottom. Well, I mean, okay, yes, Craig, in your school where there's boosty budgets.
Thanks,
but you
Craig.
Know what
Thanks for contributing to America.
In general, the way we do education in this country is not very efficient or effective. And poker is especially that way, in that, you know, the typical training system in poker is 90-minute to 3-hour videos that throw tons and tons and tons of information at you. And it's not very efficient. It's not very effective. The takeaways, you have to kind of dig them out and claw on them. And so as a result, I feel like there's not, and there are success stories, but there's not a lot of success stories. You don't hear a lot of stories of so-and-so joined this person or this coach or this training site, and now they're making millions of dollars, right? And then I kind of took it a step further, and I was like, you know, I don't want to train people on being winning players. Like, it's kind of a bad goal, because it's hard to be a winning player in this industry. And, you know, 3%, maybe 5% are going to be able to do it. And that's just like an unrealistic goal. And if you make everything about winning money, then one, it sets a bar unfairly high, and it kind of sets you up for failure. But two, you lose the fun of the game. And so I started thinking about, what would it look like if we taught poker in a way that wasn't focused on, I'm going to turn so-and-so into a winning player, I'm going to turn so-and-so into a high stakes player. What if the goal of teaching was to give people more confidence and simplify the game so they could have more fun when they play? Right. And what would that look like? And the ideas just started flowing off, and I just started having all these like thoughts and how this could be structured. And it's a completely different way to approach education. And it's one that has a much more potential of being successful, because, you know, people can go and get experience. And if they feel like they're having more confidence and they're having more fun playing the game, they're going to be happy. Whereas if the expectation is, I'm going to make a ton of money off this course, and they don't make a ton of money, now they're really upset. And I got really excited, because I was like, this is something. And then I did what I always do, and what I've done for the last 20 years. Like, oh, I've got this. All right, I'm going to go all my friends involved. We're going to do this big project. And it was like another existential moment where it was like, no, I need to do this by myself. And it wasn't that I didn't want to get people involved, but it was like, I knew in my journey, my personal journey, and where I've gone and where I was going, that I needed to take a leap of faith. I needed to put myself out there. And bringing my friends in was a security blanket. It was a way to feel safe, and like, you know, safety in the herd. And, you know, it was a protection mechanism. And I'm like, it scared me, but I'm like, no, I'm going to do this by myself. And then a week later, I had a call with Jim Reed over at Rec Poker. And Jim's like, hey, we really want to do, and he knew nothing about this, didn't say anything to him. He's like, we really want to build a course at Rec Poker that's geared more towards recreational players. So if you have any ideas on that, we should talk about it. And I was like, this is it. This is the open door. I'm going to build a course with Rec Poker, and they're thinking, and then there was that voice again that was like, no, you need to do this by yourself. And I took a step back and I took a deep breath and I took a leap. I bought a domain, I bought graphics, I did a design, I recorded a bunch of video. And the second I started working on this project, my sleep went to absolute shit. My anxiety rose through the roof. It has been, and it's so weird, guys. I wish I could explain it to you because I know why it's happening, but it's so weird to me that something like that's not even out there. Like, I haven't told anybody about this. My wife, she's the only one that knows. And me and Jay have alluded to it, but it's shaken me to my core. Like, I've been so terrified to do this. It's like, well, who are you to put out an educational course? Your Hendon mob's what, $250,000? You don't have any WSOP final tables. Your biggest score is like 22K. You don't even grind anymore. You don't stream anymore. Like, who the hell are you, Rob, to put something like this out? And I've just seen this as my final exam, I guess, if you will, for believing myself, taking a step, and kind of a little bit like what Sean's talking about, going out and doing my own thing. And so I'm almost to the finish line. I'm about 1 to 2 weeks away from putting this public. And this is the first I've talked to anybody about this. And it's such an important moment for me, not even whether it succeeds or fails, but it opens the door to change my entire career to where now taking a poker trip isn't just taking a poker trip and my results. Like, now I can go promote a product that I've put my heart and soul into, and I can market that product and I can tell people about that product. And it gives me a chance to add value to everything I do and not be in this world where everything is an hourly and everything comes down to an ROI on an online tournament or how much I come back with on a live trip. So I am very excited for the amount of sleep I'll finally get when this is done. But I'm very terrified at the same time. And this is my 2025.
I mean, that's the dream. Like, that's the dream right there. We all have a different way of looking at it, but that's the dream, in my opinion. So is this like a thing where you have like, a course of 10 things you're going to be doing, 10 different, like, say, videos, or is this like an active training site where every week it's going to be something new? Like, how do you have this? What's the vision here?
So I've built this a little bit differently. There's 4 sections in the way I've set this up. I've broken it down into concepts, situations, moves, and scenarios. And there's about 25 videos that are concept videos that are basically me taking things from bet sizing to ICM, that range of things, and breaking them down into 15-minute videos, really short videos where I'm using analogies and object lessons and things that are going to make the retention really good and simplify it so it's not an overwhelming amount of information. It's a biteable, what do you call it? A bite-size lesson, if you will. And that kind of sets the foundation. And then there's about 15 to 20 situational videos, which is we're on the flop. Here's a simplified thought process. Like, you don't want to get into a situation and have 85 variables to think about and 16 different decision points and be overwhelmed. It's like, can we get this down to, you have 3 options and here's the 4 things you're going to use to decide those 3 options. And is that going to be perfect GTO poker? No. But if you can bring things down to that level and they're going to be right 80, 95% of the time, they're going to be within 1 or 2 big blinds of what optimal would be in that situation. It makes the game more fun. It makes it easier, right? Like, there's not this anxiety around decisions. And then we have moves, which is the part I'm most excited about, where these are just cool moves that you can do that are fun. So some people are going to come in, they're going to go straight to the moves they're going to learn. For example, there's one video called Duck, Duck, Goose. And the whole point of Duck, Duck, Goose is it's small bet flop, small bet turn, big bet river. And we just talk about how when you don't condense your opponent's range on the flop and turn, you leave them very wide on the river. And then when you make a large bet on the river, you give them a very difficult MDF, minimum defense frequency to hit. So it's a very profitable exploit that you can take. And we give a few situations of like things to look for, like when to do it and when not to do it. But it gives people who are newer at the game a chance to learn something like that and go, hey, I can do that, and then they can sit in the cash game and go, you know what? I'm going to go duck, duck, goose. It's very easy to remember.
Rob,
they have this small, big move. What?
That is very memorable.
Please tell me that the Rob Gardner donkey move.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Wait, what is this? Can we?
It's in there.
Oh wait, no, you can't let the Rob Gardner donkey move is proprietary.
So it's the heuristic of the heuristic simplified, right?
Yeah, it's just bringing the game. I like to talk about it like I've even talked about this. I think about it like a rookie quarterback in the NFL, right? Offensive coordinators, they have a rookie quarterback. They try to do two things. One, they cut the playbook way down. Like you can't have a rookie quarterback have a full NFL playbook. It's too much. Two, they try to slow the game down because the game is so much more faster in NFL than college. And they have to come up with plays and creative ways to make the game slower so they can react. That's all I'm trying to do. It's like we got into this game because it was so much fun. And then we teach poker in a way that's so overwhelming and so stressful and gives you anxiety and makes you second guess and third guess everything. And we throw so much information. It's like, bring it down to a level where it's like, A, B, C, here, there, okay, cool. And you make a decision. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you don't feel like it didn't work out because you did something wrong, right? It didn't work out because it didn't work out.
Rob, is this something that people is it going to be like a full course you buy, or can it be a la carte, pieced out? People might buy this part, but not that part. How do you package it?
It's going to be monthly. It's going to be very affordable and very accessible. I'm not looking to build some $500 course or $99 a month course. And then the fourth section is going to be scenarios, which is just going to be if somebody wants to submit a hand, I'm going to take that exact hand and do this entire process for that exact hand. I'm just going to bring that hand in and say, here's how we simplify this system so that people that look at a hand don't look at the hand and go, okay, what's the right answer? I don't want to teach the right answer. I don't want to teach people how to play poker. Sure. I want to teach people how to think about poker.
Yeah.
And so there'll be ongoing.
Right.
This is something
so you're not going to do the $599 Black Friday sale?
God, no.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Can I get a mental game course taught by Craig? Like I really would like that.
That's
that'd be good. Yeah. What? He's great with mental game. You know who I call when I have a mental game issue? Craig. Every time.
That's where you're losing.
Yeah.
You should call me.
No, I saved Brett a lot of money recently.
You call me and I help you.
I told him to go home.
Yeah.
Mika, you look like you have a question. There it is. I knew she did.
I'm sorry, Rob's wife.
What?
The whole time you were explaining this course, I just imagined you in a bathtub.
Yes, that's where.
That's how he's going to film it, right?
That's everything.
And then that was my follow-up question: is where's the bathtub segment?
Right. That's where the rubber ducky, duck, goose came. It came from the rubber duck, and then it moved into duck, goose.
Rob in the bathtub.
Yes,
that's the OnlyFans Rob channel.
The bubbles came up. That transitioned into bubble play. I know exactly how all of this.
I don't understand.
Everything should be bathtub themed.
The stigma of that, about being in like a relaxing situation where you can let your guard down, let your mind rest and relax.
Here's what it is, Rob.
Relax.
Yeah, that's the 1-2 cash game at the Copa.
Here's the thing: most of us aren't professional poker players and have the time on our day to sit in a gosh darn bathtub. We got to shower, get to work, get home, get the things done, jump online, grind, and then do it again the next day. And who has time to lounge around in a bathtub?
How does the guy that works 80 plus hours a week do it? How many hours?
You work from your bathtub, apparently.
Right. So, Rob, serious question here. So, with the course, I think this is great, to be honest. And I know I was just giving Craig hell about go have fun. My ultimate question, though, is around all this. In the beginning, you talked about how, like your delay in getting to this place, right, in either your career or your personal life. And then like the conversation around confidence. And although a lot of people here would probably think that you're the best player on this team, and I probably would correct them all that you are not the best player here. It is definitely yours
Be
truly.
wise to do so.
It's definitely yours truly. But I do
He's in
want
the room.
I do want to know, like, was there a place where like maybe you thought like burnout maybe settled in and like you're in this place of now, like, like the rise from the ashes mindset, and then now it's just kind of released this portion of your brain, you know what I mean, to say like, this is what the poker world needs, because I'm fully aligned with you. I think that this is something that if we could simplify what we're doing to a degree, because the reality is it's not just even so much of like what percent is going to be successful in the game, what percent, and maybe the two are tied together, but what percent are going to end up in a Triton event, right? Who's firing 50Ks? When the reality is you probably could just have a blast crushing your local game, you know what I mean? Or a ring event, or, a run good series. And to be quite
around
frank,
the kitchen table.
you don't, or that. I think you just don't, some folks don't need, and this is no knock on any of the courses, right? Because like we all have studied in those spaces. They don't need that, right? To actually be successful in that space. And I think that this is something that you're bringing to the table. But what do you think it was that held you back? Like, you know what I mean?
So it was a progression. I came full of passion into the poker industry to prove myself. I wanted to, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to win bracelets and rings. I don't want it to sound like I'm shitting on that at all. Those are amazing goals to have and dreams to have, and everybody should chase them to the best of their ability. But mine had false motives. I wanted bracelets and rings because I wanted the poker world to respect me. I wanted the poker world to look up to me. I wanted the poker world to recognize how hard I'd been working and how much heart I had and how much effort I had and how badly I wanted it. And I thought that if I could, get to that level and win those things, that I would garner respect. And then I met this guy by the name of Phil Hellmuth, who has 17 bracelets and nobody gives two shits about him. And he has the respect of a pygmy goat, right? Like, bracelets don't win you respect. They don't win you honor or credit. Like, it's just not a thing. And so I died to those dreams a little bit and realized that they didn't really matter, which caused a crisis for me because all of a sudden everything I wanted in poker didn't matter. And I had to work through that and kind of come back to what am I really trying to accomplish? And a friend of mine, Frank, really, I'll never forget, we had a phone call. And I was telling him about this. I'm like, man, I want to win rings. I want to win bracelets. And it meant so much to me. And now that I don't care. And he's like, that's good. It's about damn time. I was like, yeah, but now I don't care about anything. The game doesn't matter to me. I said, why play the game other than to just collect a paycheck? And he was like, your wife, your kids, your dogs. You think about them. You fight for them. God, I'm going to get choked up. You set an example for them.
Yeah.
And I got my desire and passion back. But this time I really started to die to this idea that I needed to impress people, that I needed to win people over, that I needed to prove anything. And ironically, that's when the poker came around for me, because I stopped playing to win and I stopped trying to play in a way that could garner attention. And I started playing the way that was true to me and was true to who I was. And that opened the door to all of this. And I could not have gotten to this point without going through that progression. And that's why it's taken so long, because that's not, you don't just figure that out in a weekend. I wish you did. I wish that was two bath material, right? Bath
right.
Sunday,
yeah.
Bath
You need
Sunday,
a
you got
bigger
it all worked
bathtub.
out.
You need a bigger bathtub and more bubbles.
Well, we have
That's
a
what you
garden
need.
tub. That's part of the thing y'all don't understand. I got a big garden tub that I can sprawl out in. I have a desk. that sits on top so I can put my laptop right there. I got my phone. It's got
Oh my
drink
God.
holders, so I've got my water bottle. I got a
How much
caffeine.
time do you
stay
spend in the
The
bathtub?
garden,
My
right? I was gonna
God.
say the gardener garden tub. How much are you in the damn thing? You hit it on the head there, and I respect it. I know you and I have some very, again, personal conversations, growth conversations. You and I have been through the entrepreneurial roller coasters. Like I respect that thought process because it's absolutely spot on. And I always say it as this, like my brother used to say this to me all the time, is we do the things that we do for our family and we do the things that we don't do, right, for our family, right? Like putting ourselves in bad situations, like we don't do that because we have a family, right, that we have to support, we have to take care of. And then we go as hard as we do, right, to take care of our family. And I think that, again, admirable, man, that, it doesn't matter when we come to a place of saying, I'm drawing the line here, this is what I'm doing. It's actually just getting to that place. Time doesn't mean anything. We talked about this the other day of like folks that are extremely successful and how many people are successful that didn't get there until over the age of 50. Right. I mean, and the reality is you just can't stop. But the great part is you just continue learning, so definitely proud to see him, man. Great supporter, as you already know. So this is going to be exciting to watch unfold.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Hey, Rob,
Well,
I have a question though.
Yep.
Like, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome. Are you going to be playing poker in 2025? Is that on your radar?
Oh, yeah. Let me clear the sweat out of my eyes. These lights in the studio.
All right. And when you're done with this question, I have one more follow-up question when you're done with this.
It's hot in here. Yeah, so that's one of the beauties of this is it's going to open the door. Like I said, this adds value. Now look, I don't know what the site's going to do. I'm not expecting it to have thousands of subscribers and make millions of dollars off of it, but even at 20 or 30 or 40 subscribers, it has an impact on the bottom line. And it just makes traveling and playing live and playing online and doing things like the poker and pizza stream, it just synergizes because it just adds a little bit more value to what I'm doing. And I've always been really close to getting over the hump. So a little bit more value could be all I need to kind of get to that next step. And so, yeah, I'm very excited. I have a goal of playing taking at least one poker trip a month for the entire year of 2025. Me and my wife have talked, and she has a very, very stressful job. And sometimes she has weeks where she comes home and she just needs to decompress for a weekend. And that's her sitting with a book and not being bothered. So I might take 2 poker trips some months or 3 poker trips. We're just going to.
That's why Jay's wife tells him to go play.
Yeah, that's why Jay plays every weekend.
She's like, get out of the house, get away from me.
You better come to Dallas, by the way, in some of those trips. We better see you.
I'm definitely going to, 100%. I'm definitely going to get out. And that's part of the reason I've played very little poker over the last 6 months, because this has been something I've been kind of keeping close to the vest and putting time and energy into. But I haven't lost a love for the game. And honestly, I don't think my game has been in a better place in 21 years. So I'm very eager and excited to see what I can really do.
All right. And my follow-up question is, next week on the pod, can you broadcast from the bathtub?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
You need to be careful what you ask for, Dave. Like
oh my God.
Come on,
Jay, you're gonna have to change your mind.
right?
That's
We
fine.
want
do you realize I can totally make that
Don't
happen? Like, that's
tempt him.
not
Okay,
even
good, because Mika is really, really wanting you to have this.
I mean,
interested.
Rob's
That is-
already a floating head on the pod, so he could be in a bath right now for all we know.
Right.
the viewership just plummeted, guys. We literally just
We
lost
everybody.
everybody.
No.
We'll save that for Brett's OnlyFans channel.
I was just going to say
Well-
that. I swear. Good read.
I just want to say this, everybody. I am so excited for this podcast. I would love for it to blow up and do big things, and I think it will. I really do. But even if we had 2 viewers for the rest of the year, what's going to come out of this group and getting to see and share our journeys over this next however long we do this for is going to be worth the time alone. And there's going to be memories made in this pod that we're going to look back on in 30 and 40 years and go, God, I wish I could go back and do that again. So
Yeah.
take it all. Well, okay. 5 of you. Take it all in. Enjoy every moment. To all of you who've stuck around for 2 hours, we're not normally going to have a 2-hour pod, but obviously we wanted to get through all of this and talk about all these goals. There's a lot to uncover. In future episodes, it'll be more of a kind of like what's gone on in the last week, not let's bring our whole life up to speed in 2 hours. But this is going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. Again, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout. We're going to have some clips coming out over the next couple of weeks, some behind the scenes stuff. We're going to be doing some interviews with people here in the group and getting some more one-on-one conversation with some people. And as always, I don't have anything to say. Anybody else have any final words? I feel like I've tapped myself out here.
Don't open the door for Jay to start talking again.
Yeah.
Fair.
Danger, Will Robin. Danger.
I've been good today.
No, you did a good job. I think that the one thing I want to highlight is that we have 7 people here that are all coming from very different places and all at different places. But it's one of the interesting things and one of the beautiful things about poker is that there's no barrier to entry. Any one of us could sit down table with any one of us, and the people who you get to meet through this game. There's some you would want to avoid, but I found so many that I found intriguing and interesting and have really been the fabric of your life in terms of like you get a little texture in your life. And I'm super proud of this group, and I'm excited for the journey. Let's chase the dream.
Yeah, and like I'll tag on the back end here for Craig. I think just everyone in general, overall, right? Like not even just this group, people outside this group, people that are watching, people that support. It's a journey, and you have to embrace it. And the best way to do that is just be real with yourself. Like I think we learned a lot today about everyone and where we've been and where we want to go. And I think that the biggest part too is like having this community. Like if you're not in one, like you probably should have one, is what kind of helps you get to the next level, especially from a mental perspective. Like we talk about like the prime mind and these things. That's very separate from what you need to do in order to be successful long term. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of successful folks out there, but the folks that are like entering into this game or this space, again, like it's a journey, and sometimes you have to realize that you don't have to take it on your own. And if you're just very intentional of the folks you keep around you, keep that high level of positivity around you, and keep all the negative folks out of your space, you'll be amazed on the things that you can do that can take you next level. So cheers.
I'm glad that we have a new poker pastor. I no longer need to don that name. All right. Well, for Diana, Brett, Sean, Jay, Mika, Craig, and my bathtub, my name is Rob. We appreciate you guys. We will see you next Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern.